Matthew chapter 5. And seeing the multitude, he went up into a mountain, and when he was set, his disciples came unto him. He opened his mouth and taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, they shall be filled or satisfied. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are ye which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye when men shall revile you, persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you, falsely for my sake. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. I love it. Jesus comes on the scene and he begins to teach. You want to know what it looks like to be happy in this day while you're quarantined? I mean, what does it look like to keep yourself happy? Well, Jesus starts to say it. And it sounds like countercultural. We tend to think in terms of a car, clothes, and whatever else makes us feel happy, or eating a lot of food. He said, no, it's a little bit different. He goes on, he's in verse 13. He says, blessed are, he says, you are the salt of the earth, but if the salt has lost its savor, wherewith shall it be salted? It is therefore good for nothing, but to be cast out and to be trodden under the foot of men. He said, you are the light. Now he's talking to his disciples, and he began, remember, he's on the mountain and they're listening to him teaching. He starts to teach about what it looks like to be happy. It's an age-old question. Then he tells them, he said, listen, guys, you are the light of the world, a city that cannot be hid. I love that. In other words, Jesus has gone on this mountaintop, and on the mountain there are homes built, multiple homes, and it literally has become a city. And so he tells them, he said, you are light of the world, and you are that city right over there. And it's like you're on a hill and you can't be hid. Why? Because every time people are on that hill, and as the nighttime falls, they turn their lights on, and it affects the atmosphere. People that's not on the mountain, that's just walking through darkness, they can now have some light. They have direction. They have a sense of which to travel and which to go. So he said, that's what you are. You are a city on a hill. I want to take you somewhere real quick. Let's go to Matthew chapter 7. And let's see. I love this stuff. Let's go down. I want to go down about verse 17. Again, Matthew 7 and 17. Even so, every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Every tree that bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into a fire. Wherefore, by their fruits ye shall know them. Not everyone that said unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter the kingdom of heaven. Now, that's a pretty deep statement, because somebody sounds like they've been around church, or they've been around some godly people. Maybe they are a scholar and they've been reading, or somebody that perhaps they've learned the language. They say, Lord. That's a deep term. They say, Lord, Lord, shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that doeth the will of my Father. It's a difference between knowing and doing. Those that do the will of my Father, many will say in that day, Lord, Lord, did not I preach or prophesy in thy name? Did not I cast out demons? And I've done many wonderful works. Then I will profess unto them, I know you not, depart from me, you worker of iniquity. That's somebody that's lawless, continues to sin and practice sin. Verse 24, therefore, whosoever heareth these things of mine and doeth them, I will liken unto a man who built his house on a rock. Listen, this is imperative. This is important for us. Listen, we have been quarantined to be at home. Listen, don't think about what the enemy is doing and what's going on. Let's just be honest. Let's ask God, God, what is it that you're trying to do? And perhaps God is trying to get us to go back to that place of foundation in our homes, in our marriages, and our children. Listen, guys, our children were lost. I always thought about the scenario with the woman that lost the coin in the house. I was thinking, man, they were lost at church. No, they were lost right there in our home. Our kids have become lost. It's time to find them. And so the Lord, what he does is he walks on a mountain. He starts to teach them what happiness looks like. And then what he does is he shifts and he said, you are like that city. You're sitting high on a hill. And then here in verse 24 of 7, he said, therefore, whosoever heareth the sayings of mine, he said, if you listen to what I'm saying, take my yoke, listen to my teaching. He said, you take these things that I say, he said, I will liken you unto a wise man who built his house on a rock. In other words, you building your house on the mountain, you're a city on the hill. You're not just building on anything, but you're building on my word. He said, if you take my word and start to digest, start to live it out, he said, I will liken you to a man who built his house on this mountain. It's the reason I took you up on the mountain. There were plenty of people here, but only you followed me up, disciples. You did what I did. You came up on the mountain. You began to set up under me, and you heard the words. And he said, if you listen to what I'm saying, you're like a man who built his house on a rock or on a mountain. He said, why? Verse 25, he said, the rains descended and the floods came and the winds blew and beat upon the house and fell not. And for it was founded upon a rock. It said, and everyone that heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them not shall be likened unto a foolish man, which built his house on the sand. For the rain descended, the floods came, and the winds blew and beat up on the house. Listen, and it fell, and great was the fall of it. Listen, this is what I'm getting to, guys. If you were already going through a situation, if you were already what appeared to be a storm, listen, what does it look like now? Perhaps you're out of work. Perhaps the finances are not coming in. You and your spouse already didn't see eye to eye. Maybe if you have kids at home and you raise kids differently and you weren't on the same page there. So things were already happening. And so the rain was already there. Now here comes the flood, the wind, and it beat up on the house. So what now? There's other things pressing. There's other situations that are pressing upon your house. But the Lord says, if you would just take my words, do what I say, don't build in the valley. See, that's the valley means that you haven't paid attention to when he went up the mountain. He went up. You got to see what Jesus is demonstrating. Do what he says, everything about him. He went up the mountain and he began to teach on what happiness looks like. He said, hear my sayings. Don't build in the valley, build on the mountain. It's the reason that you're back at home. It's not because of the quarantine per se, but you have to have a mind to say, God, give me wisdom. What's going on? I need to know what's going on in my home. I need to know the relevancy of what's going on in my marriage. What are you really doing? Listen, this is a great time to go and seek God out, to find out, God, what are you really saying? What are you really doing in my life? Hey, this is just a few moments I wanted to spend with you. I pray that this helps you to find out what God's will and purpose is for the season that you're in. Listen, God bless you. We love you.